To many, the road is a calling. To a select few, the road is a lifestyle. A place where they live and work as they journey through some of the most incredible landscape on Earth. Testing themselves and each other. Now, like never before, experience life inside and outside the peloton. As cycling's greatest, grant access to their inner circle, all while trying to conquer one of the most incredible races ever conceived. This is the All Access Mini-Series USA Pro Race of Truth, presented by Exergy. In cycling, a single time stage is referred to as the Race of Truth. It's coming home, and it is a very good time. However, 1 year ago in this mountain range, a race was born that can be considered a race of truth from beginning to end. For with unparalleled altitude and untouchable mountains, it tested every rider to their core. 1 year later, the challenge becomes even more difficult. With an extraordinary opening stage, 3 brutal mountaintop finishes, and a final decisive time trial. But that all lies ahead. Just 48 hours ago, there was a calm before the storm. On any other day, this would just be a pedestrian parking lot. But on this day, it transforms into a base camp. Full of space-age technology and fine-tuned machinery. In a sport where the difference over 1,000 miles can be millimeters of precision. Mechanics are the first on the job. Surrounded by 5-figure bikes. Soon, the riders arrive with a laissez-faire attitude, even though they are getting ready to live life at 50 miles an hour.
What are you guys going to do today?
Just tranquilo day before the race.
Okay.
For them, as they await their machines, it's just another day at the office, where they get to catch up with teammates and old friends.
Get Levi in there, man.
You got to be in the picture, too.
All right.
Fort Lewis College graduate Tom Danielson feels right at home and is happy to play tour guide.
What do you guys think of Durango? Do you like it? Yeah? Did you guys ride the front hill yet? It's pretty hard, huh?
We came up.
Oh, yeah?
Have a great, safe week.
Heck yeah.
All success to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for coming out. What's your name?
Nick.
Nick? I don't know. I think all these people with cameras intimidating me.
Yeah, you're really shy about that.
Stressed out.
Despite the relaxed demeanor, this is Danielson's first race back from a devastating Tour de France.
Was hoping to be a contender for the podium, and last year finishing 8th overall, and had a really good run into the race this year, much better than last year. Felt like I had a great opportunity, and to hit the deck like I did, not one but twice, and the second one being the worst crash, no questions asked, in my career. It left me with a really sour taste in my mouth, and leaving the tour like I did, and going through all the pain and suffering, and 4 days in France, and laying in bed bleeding, and couldn't walk, and I had 2 options. I had one, give up, and I had the other one, which was figure out some sort of solution and how I'm going to cope and deal with this. And the positive was that there's a race in my home state that has my favorite climb that finishes in my hometown. It starts in the town that Durango, Colorado, where I went to school, went to college, found road cycling. That just turned a fire inside of me, and ever since that plane ride back from France, I've just been 100% focusing on Colorado, and it's really been my medicine to get over this. I could barely walk, and it just just really took me to another level in my training and my preparation, and really my sacrifice and my understanding of how much I love the sport. I want to become better from this experience that I had in the Tour de France. I don't want to let this steer me another direction than the top. So just been fighting, and I'm ready to take it to Colorado, in Colorado.
Coming up, the champ on what it will be like to defend.
Just by nature of being the second year is already going to be tougher.
And the ambitious young rider who wants to take him down.
Coming in with a pretty good shot.
When the USA Pro Race of Truth, presented by Exergy, returns. One year ago, Levi Leipheimer seized control of the USA Pro Challenge. Gap, and every second counts here. He was 8 down after yesterday. Is he racing to the gold medal today? Levi Leipheimer has ripped the field apart here. Now the combative Californian looks ahead to defending.
Anytime you defend a title or a victory in a race from the previous year, it's tough. You start with #1 on your back. Everybody knows that you're the #1 favorite. And this race, you know, the USA Pro Challenge is only getting more and more competitive. I mean, last year it was already world class, so this year is going to be, just by nature of being the second year, is already going to be tougher. And the course is tough. It's Colorado, so you've got some very high mountains, and there's a few tough finishes this year. The last year we didn't really have a mountaintop finish, but this year there's a mountain, but it's definitely a climb, and it's going to separate the field. So that's going to make it more important and tougher to win.
From the champion to the first American to win the young rider jersey at the Tour de France in over 25 years, TJ Van Garderen, who finished a remarkable 4 minutes ahead of BMC leader and 2011 Tour de France winner Cadel Evans. As a result, his presence here is amplified from a year ago, when after seizing yellow, he painfully relinquished the jersey to Leipheimer. Race has closed right up. Out of yellow goes TJ, but we are talking about 10 seconds, if that.
Actually coming, I think it's going to be a great race for TJ. He's had more time to prepare for this, and he's from Colorado.
You know, I've had a good season with some good results, and I'm feeling still fit and healthy and somewhat fresh after the long season.
Have a good ride, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, things this year, just I haven't been able to get to my top level, and a few underlying health issues which are limiting me this year, so I've had to reassess my goals, unfortunately, and you know, that's the way it goes. But also to come here and not have the pressure results means also I can enjoy the racing a bit more, which is very refreshing for a rider like me.
And I'm motivated because you know, it's a hometown race, and finishes with a time trial, and somewhat of a specialist there.
And I hope to be here and hope to be a contributor to the team, not in results, but as a guy on the road, whether that's a captain or riding on the front or controlling breakaways or whatever.
So yeah, I think coming in with a pretty good shot. Hey, Marius, how's it going?
With established and rising stars like Leipheimer, Evans and Van Garderen nearby, there is a youthful team here that is just amazed to be in their company. Bontrager Livestrong is made up of riders under 23 years old, and they act like it.
They don't want you sneaking girls into your dorm room or nothing.
Seriously.
Or boys.
You can't just, like, give a girl a key. Like, all right, you make copies of all this.
All
So, oh, dude, I need to teach you something. I tell mom, wait, over there, hand hug.
We're a team of all U23 riders, and we're a development team, so we're here to learn, and we want to soak up as much as we can while we're here.
My first race that I watched on TV had most of these riders in there.
Cadel, George Hincapie, Jens Voigt. I'm very excited to measure myself against them this week. It will be a first for me.
It's cool because I look up to them and I'm racing with them. It's pretty special.
To be racing here with the big guys, the big pro teams,
super cool, and it's a great opportunity for us. I mean, we're all looking forward to it, to kind of learn from these other guys and also to show them what we can do.
We've got some guys that can be up there on GC. We've got guys that can compete for the stage wins. We'll be represented in the breakaways.
We're also here to race. We're not just gonna watch the other guys race.
Joe is our strongest climber and our best GC guy, so the team will definitely rally around him and try and get him as high up the GC as he can.
That is Dombrowski, who's just moved away and split up the field. This youngster is amazing here.
We're also here on a mission to get some results, to show the world and the U.S. what the young crop of riders is made of.
Coming up, hijinks at the opening press conference.
We're in the Rockies.
And Dave Z's one-man reality show.
So we're getting cookies for our Is that the story?
All ahead on the USA Pro Race of Truth, presented by Exergy. Usually, press availability can be serious or even contentious. But at the opening press conference here in Colorado, this was far from the case.
A little bit of the flavor of what you've seen since you've been here in the last performance.
Well, you know, as we all know, I mean, this is really my hometown. I mean, I live in Boulder, but my heart is here. And Christian was giving me crap earlier in the year. He's like, Tom, you can only have so many hometowns. You know, you're from Connecticut, you know, you live in Boulder, you keep talking about Durango, and you also like Malibu. So, I mean, this is it, though.
Of course, the team is based out of Boulder, Colorado, and we're going to go right through the heart of it on next Saturday. And yeah, of course, you know, you always want to do good on your home soil, and that just means a little more of us.
And the depth of the team, could you just a preview of the current team that you have?
We have great depth, you know, and we've got Tom going from coast to coast with hometowns, you know. Doesn't get much deeper than that.
I'm excited to explore Colorado with this race, and at the same time, hope to do pretty well and get that BMC jersey onto the top step of the podium.
You've been here before.
Okay, my mind's in that. That's why I brought her. She's my fact checker.
Kind of used to the Dumb and Dumber quote that TJ said earlier, but now that I get it, I gotta say that scene where they get off the scooter and they're stuck to each other, that's when I was like getting off the bike in Aspen. Yeah. You mean you had an extra pair to coming down that descent?
We're in the Rockies.
It's going to be nasty, and it's definitely not some sort of power climbers climb, if that's what people are thinking. I mean, look at Levi. He did Philip Gilbert last year on Crest of Butte, you know. And he's never done anything like that before. So Allison does crazy stuff. And not that he's not good. I mean,
yeah, last year, I mean, I think the crowds blew everyone away. The organization blew everyone away. And yeah, I was motivated last year as well. And I remember I got in a jersey into Aspen. You know, got a little nippy going down the pass there. Yeah, and then I did an incredible time trial the next day. Took the jersey off me, and I was pretty emotional that day. It was hard to lose it, and I'm hoping that this year I can pull it together in that final time trial and maybe take the jersey home.
Following the press conference and a brief ride, the Dave Zabriskie show begins once again. First by tipping off his teammates that cameras are present.
And then the guy was like, I think Tommy D was like, oh, maybe we could have them like a little bit smaller first. Yeah.
So we're getting cookies for our Is that the story?
And then by ad-libbing a tour of his Spartan dormitory housing.
Thank you. Never went to college. Put all your eggs in one basket. That's my philosophy. About to get real. I just came in last night.
toilet, shower, beds. I actually tried to live in a dormitory like this with my girlfriend a long time ago in Berkeley, but it was an all-girls floor, and her roommate really wasn't into it. Water, maple syrup, apple cider vinegar.
What's that stuff for?
I'm not sure. It's good for cleaning things, so maybe it'll clean out my stomach. All right,
buddy.
See you.
Thank you.
While Zabriskie and the rest of Team Garmin Sharp has to rough it, the local Danielson heads out for nicer accommodation.
I think the team can't do the dinner now, so maybe just you and I, just the family will take those reservations. Is that cool? Okay, we'll be there in a minute. I love you. Okay. This is really, for me, where, you know, it all happened. You know, I came here with aspirations of a good education. You know, I was a marketing major. I really wanted to be in the business. You know, I never thought I'd be a pro cyclist, and I saw what it was like to be a struggling bike racer, and you know, the ups and downs of being a college kid, and I realized I really wanted it. It's a great place where you can be a college student like I was and go out on a ride with some of the best riders in the world, and I would see, okay, I can climb with Ned Overend, maybe I can climb with these guys in the big races, and that's really where it happened for me, and that's why I'm so passionate about Durango and Fort Lewis and obviously Colorado.
Coming up, Tom Danielson's luxury accommodation. Watch out when Dave Zabriskie takes the open mic. And a can't miss preview of Stage 1. Next on the USA Pro Race of Truth, presented by Exergy. With the rest of the Garmin Sharp team at their dorm, Tom Danielson enjoys nicer digs.
This is Stephanie. She's the love of my life. I'm the head of the family. Although I always pretend, but
I thought I was. Yeah, wait a minute. She's the head.
This is her mom, who's the head of the family. So I guess I'd be like the head of the families.
Uh-huh.
And this is Stella. She's asleep. She's relaxing right now. She's just 2.5 months. We actually made her in Durango, which is pretty funny. You can edit that if you want, but I think it's a good fact. Like, I mean, everybody knows. Stevie D. So this is my son. He already knows how to work. The iPad. So he's 2.5. He's a future champion. Although right now we're really into Power Rangers. It's possible he might be a samurai.
Okay, so what, 6 o'clock or something? We should.
Yeah. Can you just tell him it'll be us?
Yeah.
Racing in Colorado, definitely your pre and post race routine is definitely different than, say, Europe. For one, everything is a lot more familiar. This is like some kind of...
This is healing up.
Hotel rooms that, that look familiar, that you've seen your entire life. People, in the hotels and at the finishes and at the starts that are familiar and familiar sounding and familiar looking. And, that's going to be a big difference in, say, the tour, where a lot of my pre and post is in a completely foreign environment, and adds just a little bit more stress that you wouldn't normally think. It's just like bike racing, no pain, no gain.
A few hours later, under vast Colorado skies, the opening gala gives the riders the chance to exchange one-liners. And proved once again, watch out when you give Dave Zabriskie an open mic.
I'm going to go crazy every day here. I'm going for the big W's every day. I'm going to win this race. There's nothing anybody can do to stop me.
In your face, Tommy D. In your face.
We're pumped to be here, and I love this place. This is my home.
So I'm bringing a lot of momentum and a lot of confidence here into Colorado.
This year, the USA Pro Challenge forgoes a prologue for a difficult 125 miles opening stage 1 presented by Colorado.
This year, starting with the road race is going to change the dynamic, whereas last year we had the prologue. I like the prologue. You have a set leader going into that first road stage, and that means that team's usually going to work and try to keep the jersey, and that just keeps everyone a little bit more calm.
Beautiful Durango is famous for its fly fishing waters and spectacular biking around the scenic town's rugged mountains. Garment Sharp's Tom Danielson graduated from Fort Lewis College and knows these roads well.
It starts in Durango, Colorado, where I went to school, went to college, found road cycling. In fact, we even stay in the dorms that I stayed in as a college student. You know, I love Durango. I've spent a good chunk of time in Durango, I think 8 years or more than 8 years. So, yeah, at one point I was trying to become the mayor of Durango. Starting this race in Durango will probably be one of the top experiences I've had in my life, and definitely on my bike.
The peloton will climb over 9,200 feet, including summiting at Lizard Head Pass en route to Telluride.
A lot of people don't know what these climbs are going to be like. It's the unknown, so it's going to take someone who goes out there and maybe somebody we don't know can get out there and get the jersey.
It'll give a chance to a bunch of teams to show themselves right away, and it'll wear a bit more on the legs for the harder days to come.
I think that there'll be a small breakaway, and the big teams will play conservative. It should end in a bunch sprint, and then the next day we'll start to see already the gaps forming.
The 15-mile descent into the narrow streets of the Box Canyon city of Telluride is guaranteed to provide fireworks. To witness unseen images and learn the inside story from every stage, including exclusive in-car footage, pre- and post-race interviews, and much more, make sure tune in every day this week at 3:30 p.m. Eastern to catch every episode of USA Pro Race of Truth. Next, the USA Pro Challenge begins live on the NBC Sports Network. Levi Leipheimer back in Colorado to try and defend his USA Pro Challenge title. He'll have to take on last year's runner-up Christian van der Velde, who lost then by 2 seconds. And the new man on the block, TJ Van Garderen, after his white jersey win in the Tour de France. This is all next with Stage 1. It is a state known for its majestic mountain beauty. But for the 124 riders in this race, this will be no scenic tour of the Colorado Rockies. For the next 7 days, these men will battle staggering altitudes and relentless mountain passes on a route that may be beautiful to the eye, but will be ruthless on the legs. This veteran rider was the race's first champion, and back for the second edition is eager to defend his title. While a young American recently took home the Best Young Rider jersey at the Tour de France, proving he is primed to contend for the overall. But the field is stocked with other contenders wanting their shot at brilliance. A chance for redemption after a disappointing Tour de France, and hopes of taking the top step of the podium after finishing third in Paris only a few short weeks ago. Familiar faces lining up for their moment to make history in one of the most competitive cycle races in America. 683 miles of high speeds, breathtaking scenery, and exhilarating battles lie ahead as the unforgiving ride to the Rockies now begins. The 2012 USA Pro Challenge, presented by Exergy, starts next. Challenge as they make the way from Durango. Hello and welcome Welcome to the Epic Cycle Series and the USA Pro Challenge presented by Exergy. It's now a 7-day race, and this is our first day of live coverage as we welcome you to Durango and the opening stage presented by Colorado of 125.7 miles. You know you're in Durango when you see the Durango and Silverton narrow gauge steam railway. From there we come to the Silver Mine City here, and this sits at 8,800 feet above sea level. It's a tough opening stage, believe me, as they race here now to the finishing line here in the city of Telluride. Hello everybody, I'm Phil Liggett. Alongside me is Paul Sherwin. Everybody here is excited. It's only the second year of this event, but it has drawn the best field, Paul.
Drawn a magnificent field, Phil, but let's not forget, in its first edition last year, 1 million people stood at the side of the road to watch this bike race, and any bike rider who's come this year has not only come to try and win this bike race, he wants to be here because he wants to race in beautiful Colorado.
Absolutely. Well, one man who has had the up and down conditions here of all the things of a full cycling season is Levi Leipheimer. Paul, Levi is back.
He started the season off, Phil, with a great start. He won a race in South America, but then he broke his leg just before the Tour of California. But last year, he was the king of Colorado, as you said. He laid down his foundations when we got to the climb of Crested Butte with a violent attack. It was a brilliant move and left everybody else trailing in his wake. He lost the lead a couple of days later, but then when he got to the time trial, it was in the individual time trial that he started to lay down the foundations of what was going to be, for him, a very, very solid ride.
Well, Levi Leipheimer concealed his victory in this race with a great win in the time trial. He was a man on top of his form then. We think that winning form is on his way back. He has told us he wants the last yellow jersey when we finish this race on Sunday in Denver. Who else is here, Paul? Van der Velde lost by 2 seconds last year.
Yes, second overall last year. He'll be looking to go better if he can this year. But watch out for third overall place getter last year, TJ Van Garderen, because this year he finished in 5th place overall at the Tour de France, and he was the best young rider, and I think he's still hiding the form that he had in the month of July. And you know, you can never count out the old campaigner from California, Chris Horner, 13th overall in the Tour de France this year.
Yes, and another man who is here is third in the Tour de France this year, Vincenzo Nibali, and I can tell you right now, he's in a breakaway in this race along with Tommy Danielson. So there's already pressure on the riders to do well in this year's race. So the race is now heading towards us, and let's have a look at the map.
Well, Phil, it's been a very, very rapid start, you know, for the Evol Beverages race map here this afternoon. Moving away from Durango, a little circuit around the city there of just 6 miles, but then out onto the open road. And please don't be deceived by this profile at all, because on the day, there's going to be more than 10,000 feet in climbing. There's a massive climb down towards the end after the riders have gone through the town of Dolores. They go over Lizard Peak climb down towards the end, 16 miles, and then it's a fast downhill finish into Telluride.
And that breakaway is already on at Lizard Head Pass at the moment, and there's at least 6 riders already given up. Here's the Colorado stage facts as we make our journey towards Telluride today. Two third category climbs, 1 second category climb. We started at 6,152 feet. When the riders come here, they'll be riding at just under 8,800 feet. Well, this has been a most incredible opening stage today from Durango, and attacked by 23 riders getting clear. We're now down to these 9, and look far left there, the blue jersey of Tommy Danielson, who is really hoping to gain possibly even a race-winning lead here. They're being slowly hauled back by the peloton. These are the men who survived this 23-man breakaway. Peter Velits, Tommy Danielson, Peter Stettner, George Hincapie, remember riding his last race before retirement. Jens Voigt, yes, that man is in this breakaway as well. In all, there are 9. Vincenzo Nibali is here, third in the Tour de France. Andrew Badudali, and also Sergei Svetkov of the Russian Rustfellow team. And also here is Beltran of Colombia. A very strong breakaway. They've ridden into a little bit of rain out there on the hills. As we go back down the road, the best part of 2 minutes. The peloton now, big concern here. Astana didn't get a man in the breakaway. They've been leading up the chase away, and so too 2, the team of TJ Van Garderen and Cadell Evans, the red-black colours there of Team BMC. It has been a tremendous chase that shed a number of riders into retirement today. As we look here at the map, we're heading up towards the top now of the Lizard Head Pass on the far right of that red line. And then basically, once we're over the last 2 climbs, it's downhill to Telluride. We're topping out in the moment at just over 10,200 feet. And the pressure has been really on. Well, to bring you right up to date, let's have a look at the highlights earlier today and see how all of this came about. They got off to a tremendous start, but at the Smashburger sign-in here, last year's champion Levi Leipheimer signing in as number 1. And feeling very confident as he was. Then we went down to the start line in Durango, this wonderful western city here in Colorado, turning out in style. It doesn't have many people living here, but I think everybody was watching as they rolled away. Then the breakaway starting. 23 riders, not getting away as a group of 23, but in groups of 8s and 9s before they came together as they climbed up the Hesperus Pass, where Andrew Bajadali was the first over the top here for the Optimum team. Piemonte of Columbia second, Matt Cook was third, Tommy D was over the top there in 4th place, Michael Creed completing the top 5. Into the Honey Stinger feed zone here, and they had a big lead here, and then that was nearly a rocky old ending there for Argilis of Russia as he grabbed his food bag. Out to sprint number 2 in Dolores, 61 miles into the race. A tough sprint this one, but in the end, Sergei Vetskov of Exergy snatching the result there ahead of Josh Atkins of the Bontrager Livestrong Trek team. The breakaway was now beginning to thin out because as they were starting the long ups and downs of the day on the climb towards Alta, Vincenzo Nibali and Tom Danielson, the 2 big names of the breakaway, turned the screw a little bit. And the breakaway would never reform because they were joined by a very select chasing group of riders. Dave Zabriskie, who was part of that group, was dropped. Now turn away if you don't want to see this, because Dave Zabriskie has ridden himself to his very limits here and was now dropping back through the convoy of cars, no longer with the leaders. So now let's rejoin the action as live now, because Tommy Danielson is now racing for a win today. Well, we saw it when we got up this morning, didn't we, Paul? Those clouds rolling in here at Telluride. They've gone away for the moment in Telluride, but we are approximately 2,000 feet below the height these riders are riding at the moment.
Yeah, well, the weather is actually has cooled the race down this afternoon. It's dropped down to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 15 degrees Celsius. So the wind is 7 miles an hour. And, of course, the showers forecast have come down right at the wrong time for the breakaway. But when you look at the length of that main field, you know there's a lot of pressure being put on this race by the 2 teams, Team Astana. And talking to Yanni Brakovic, Phil, before the start of this race, he felt very confident about his chances here. But, of course, Team BMC Racing, I think they really want to get the win. This is Peter Velits, and he has finished on the podium in the Vuelta a España. Had a very strange Tour de France. It's the second time he's participated in this race, and he saw the move very early on. But I think the man who really made the move very dangerous, this man we're looking at here in the lime green jersey of Liquigas Cannondale, 3rd place overall in the Tour de France, Vincenzo Nibali.
Yes, Nibali clearly out to outwit the field today, joining this attack. He was a surprise name on day 1. I don't think anybody was expecting a race quite so hard as today's race has been, with still 6 days after this to go. So you're seeing the breakaway working. The big man in the red jersey is George Hincapie. He has worked very hard in this breakaway today to try and keep this advantage, which at one stage was up to almost 6 minutes. They are now trying to reach Telluride before the rest of the field. We'll see in a moment. Back with the USA Pro Challenge, and we're looking at the lone figure now of Tommy Danielson, who has been in that breakaway all day of 23 that was reduced to just 9 riders. Now he's taking it down to just 1. He's just attacked here on the climb of the Lizard Head pass, which takes it up to 110 miles covered of the 125 today. This is how it happened moments ago. They've just come clear of a little bit of a rainstorm out on the mountains. They're piercing 10,000 feet at the moment here in Colorado. They'll actually go down to a mere 8,800 to the finish in Telluride. But it's quite clear Tom Danielson wants this race today. He's a local boy. Well, over the weekend, we've had a lot of conversations, Paul, with Tommy D, as we call him. And Tommy Danielson, when he came back into Durango at the weekend, he said, man, I live in Boulder, Colorado now. I want to come home. He even made a point of saying it at the team presentation on the Saturday. He was homesick, and today he's just loving being on his home roads.
Well, I think these are right. That was you say there, Phil. I think these are his home roads. These are roads that he will have trained on for many, many years. They're great racing roads. The chasers, I have to say, are putting a lot of pressure on in the main field, and it's always the red and black jerseys of Team BMC Racing coming to the front. Some help coming from Team Astana, the team from Kazakhstan. But when the riders go to bed tonight, Phil, I'll tell you one thing, they'll say to each other, we have been in a bike race today.
Well, you know, as we look at the chase bunch as well, let's remind ourselves about Tommy Danielson and the terrible Tour de France he had. He went in there as a real favourite, finishing 8th in his first Tour de France last year, Paul. And then he was involved in all of those crashes in that opening week, that he dislocated both shoulders in separate crashes, and in the end, he could not go on. And here he is now back in good form.
Well, you know, he wants to do something special, and I think it was a very emotional Tour de France for him. Yes, having to abandon after a second separation of the shoulder. He rode a couple of days with that first separation, but, you know, as he said to us at the time, Phil, when we were at the Tour de France, he said, nobody wants to abandon the Tour de France. But here, this for him, it's his home race. Whether or not nowadays he lives in Boulder, Colorado, or he's going to live sometime in the future in Durango, Colorado, he is from Colorado and loves racing on this turf.
Well, he went to college in Fort Lewis, right in the city of Durango, and he was there the other day for the team presentation, and he met all of his old college teachers there. There's no doubt that this has been a great move by Tommy Danielson today. Now, what's happened here, because this is Cadell Evans here, as there's been such a fast start today. There's a lot of people, especially with the altitude, who've been put into difficulty.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Cadell Evans, Phil, has been up and down the main field here this afternoon. He's alongside there Ivan Basso, by the way, who's also having a little bit of difficulty, I think, here this afternoon with the altitude. But Evans today has been working as a domestique in the first part of this race. He's been going back to the car to get bottles. I think he's paying for all the effort he's put in this afternoon. He's been looking after the young apprentice who has now become the captain of Team BMC, and that, of course, is the American rider TJ Van Garderen.
Well, this is a select little group, but Cadell Evans is off the wrong end of it, because they're dangling off the main peloton at the moment as they continue the climb up here, up Lizard Head. There you can see the gap, and this is not looking good, because I don't think Cadell Evans dropped off voluntarily. He's been caught here at the back of the split, and he'll hope to recover, because once over the top of this pass, it's not too far to the summit. It is basically a flyer downhill to Telluride. But you know, it is the altitude, Paul. If I could just quote a simple example, we stayed in Telluride last night, and this morning, just simply putting our suitcases in the car and walking up to the car, we were out of breath. So how these boys are doing it, Paul, I really don't know.
Well, that was at 9,500 feet in altitude, over 3,500 feet. But where we're sitting here, Phil, is as high as the summit of the Col de Galibier in the Tour de France.
So Tommy Danielson now determined to get something out of this stage. At one stage, and he was in a big group nearly 6 minutes up. Now he knows the chase is on. It's around about a minute 20 now by the peloton. They really are fighting just to save the whole tour here on day one. So Tommy Danielson is the man now laying down the gauntlet, the local man on the attack. Welcome back. Let's have a look at the United Healthcare leader jerseys breakdown. Obviously, they're all racing form today. The overall jersey is for the yellow jersey, and that is on the left of our screen there. That's sponsored by Exergy. And then we look at the Waste Management sprint jersey. That's up for grabs today. So too the Nissan King of the Mountains red jersey there. The Aqua Draft Best Young Rider jersey. And finally, the Evolve Beverages Most Aggressive Rider jersey. All vacant at the moment, but they'll all have claimants by the end of this day. So let's go back to the race then, and we're going to find the lone leader is still clear here now. He's about a kilometre, just over half a mile from the summit of the climb now, the last big climb of the day, before they plunge the last 15 miles downhill into the town of Telluride. It's a box canyon city as well. Just looking at the long peloton here chasing Tommy Danielson. The gap is continuing to come down. They're saying a minute now exactly. Huge crowd on the summit of the climb as well for Tommy Danielson, while the peloton that's left behind, the group now picking up one by one the breakaway riders. So the main peloton, Paul, they have I think they've risen to the occasion, but at what cost to the effort that they've made today, shedding so many big names, and at least half a dozen in the sag wagon at the back of the race. The race is done on day one.
Well, I wouldn't say it's exactly done on day one, but it certainly laid the foundations for a lot of tired bike riders for the next week of the race. And it's been a very hard and vicious chase. Tommy Danielson, I would have to say, is super motivated here this afternoon. And it's interesting to note now, it's the Colombian team coming to the front. They're not at all afraid, Phil, I would have to say, of the altitude, because racing in Colombia in South America, they are used to racing at altitudes like this. So we get a chance to see what the exact time difference is between Tom Danielson, who leads this race over the top of Lizardheads Pass, and what remains of the main field.
Well, the long line of riders now trying to, one by one, they're picking up the breakaways, but there's still a handful of big names dangling out front, but they must be coming inside here. The peloton has worked very hard, but they've timed it extremely well to get this race back into a manual condition, because not 25, 30 miles ago, something like 50 kilometers ago, it looked like a race-winning breakaway for the whole week, not just a race-winning breakaway for today. Now it's beginning to raise big question marks whether these riders will chase back to everybody in that leading group before we drop down to the finish. Tommy Danielson, of course, he will have other ideas. He knows these roads like the back of his hand as he now heads off the mountain at 10,200 feet.
Well, as we look at this descent, this is not really a very technical descent, but it is a descent made dangerous, Phil, by the slippery conditions brought down by that rain that has come down over the last 45 minutes of racing. Tommy Danielson and the main field on a descent like this will probably be touching speeds of very close to 45 or 50 miles an hour.
Well, it looks as though Astana are taking control of this race at the moment.
Well, what's going on here, you can see the hands coming up from the riders from Garmin. Now, what they're trying to do, they probably feel that the race motorbike is just getting a little bit too close to the front end of the main field, and maybe giving the riders from Astana a little bit of a draft, and that's what they don't want, because they know that how close this race is going to be, because the difference between the leader, Tom Danielson, and the front end of the main field is now down to just 45 seconds. It's all very, very close. I know you could almost throw a blanket over this race right now.
Yes, just look how small the peloton is, and I don't think Cadell Evans, who was dropped on the climb, has rejoined this group either. He is still left behind this race. It's a long, long descent, so he's got a chance getting back into the race before we get to the finish in Telluride itself. So as we look at Tommy D, as we love to call him now, the Durango Kid, as he said, you can't call me the Durango Kid anymore. I don't live in Durango. But he wanted to reclaim the title at the start of this day, and he's now looking for the stage win in Telluride. The Bridal Veils Falls Hydroelectric Plant, also known as the Smuggler Union Hydroelectric Plant, sits atop a cliff next to Bridal Veil Falls, overlooking Telluride itself. The plant was constructed back in 1907 to power the Smuggler Union mine that lies just below the falls. It's currently the second oldest operating alternating current generator in the US and has been on the National Register of Historic Places since 1979. And it'll have the best view, I think, of the arrival of the US Pro Challenge very, very shortly. Weather clearing up a little bit, but the rain can blow back in very quickly off the mountains here. We've now got 4 riders establishing themselves at the front. Virtually everybody else has been wiped out. I'm sorry about the little bit of picture problems with the camera there. Not behaving itself in the town of Telluride as we look at the town itself. There is the big crowd waiting for the arrival of the event, and they are reckoning it might be the biggest sporting crowd they've ever had in this town. So Peter Stettner has picked up his teammate Tommy D, Tommy Danielson, Vincenzo Nibali has got back, Eduardo Beltran. These are the elite 4 survivors of this 23-man breakaway. We can show you how that catch came about. There it is, a little bit earlier in our coverage, as they just picked up Tommy D, checked out who they were, reckoned he liked what he saw, got out of the saddle and got back in with the group. 4 riders now. Now the gap was continuing to fall, even so it is now only half a minute, and you know the way this peloton has worked to bring this back has been exceptional, because they've shed so many riders from the big bunch. Well, as you gaze down from the helicopter here, Paul, you can see the movement in this peloton now. They're sensing the kill. They're only 30 seconds back.
Yeah, but it's interesting that BMC have actually turned off. I think they realise there's another slight climb to go, this little climb up to Alta, and then they feel that it'll be on the descent of the next climb of the day that if they have to pull it all back together, that's when we'll see the American-Swiss team once again come back to the front. They looked extremely organised. We now know it's not for Cadel Evans here in the month of August. It's for their youngster, the 23-year-old American rider, TJ Van Garderen.
Well, that's what we feel, and that's more or less what has been indicated. Cadel Evans at the press conference did say, I've had a horrible season, but I feel as though my form is coming back. But we saw him struggling on the climb of the Lizard Head Pass just moments ago. And this peloton, you know, has been reduced to a very select bunch of riders. There's an awful lot of riders have been dropped on an opening stage that wasn't expected to be this way. But these boys came out fighting.
Well, they did. A couple of the sprinters thought they would have a nice easy day over the first day of this race in the heart of Colorado, but that has not been the case. Average speed pretty close to around about 30 miles, 50 kilometers an hour. Sorry for the little bit of picture breakup, but it's because of the technical conditions we're experiencing. After all, it's difficult to bring. It's not exact as if we're transmitting here from an arena or a stadium. This is a moving stadium every day.
We're looking into the Box Canyon here, which is Telluride. There's only one road goes over the top of that, or you go in the way you come out.
So it's now down to 6.
Now as we continue on. And these are desperate moments here now. Peter Stettner is now setting the pace to try and keep his teammate Tommy Danielson, who's put so much into this race today. He came out with a plan, and it looks to be just going a little bit pear-shaped for him as we approach the last 10 miles of the day. He's been caught by 3 strong men, but they've been out in front virtually all of the day at very high speed. The big question now is, can they make it to the finish? Well, let's have a look at the USA Cycling American standings, and on day 1 we'll give you the result of last year's USA Pro Challenge. It was a win for Levi Leipheimer, 11 seconds from Christian van der Velde, 17 on TJ Van Garderen, 21 on Tommy Danielson, who's in the break today, and 53 seconds on George Hincapie, who has chosen this race this year to retire from the sport of cycling after 17 attempts at the Tour de France, which is a record. We're looking into the Box Canyon here, which is Telluride, where the race finishes. As the riders race towards here now, they are just on 9 miles from the finish. There are 4 leaders, and we just can't get back to the pictures for you at the moment as the riders are coming down. They're just on the climb of Alta, which is the final climb of the day before they descend down to the bottom. So as we look here at one of the highest waterfalls in the USA, let's now, for information on nutrition and hydration while racing at altitude, let's check in with Nissan Innovation for All.
My My name is Dr. Alan Lim. I'm the founder of Scratch Labs. We're an active nourishment company. Our whole thing is to make great food for athletes that isn't over-engineered, that actually meets the needs of performing athletes. You know, at events here like the USA Pro Challenge, eating is literally part of the job. These guys have to get in anywhere from 6,000 to 7,500 calories a day. That's anywhere from 3,500 to 5,000 calories on the bicycle. Add another 2,000 to 2,500 calories on top of that. If these guys aren't eating, they're not performing because they're burning through so much energy. They're using so much fuel during the day. One upset stomach, one bad tummy, the race is done. I think the biggest mistake that athletes make is not hydrating enough. So not getting enough water and not getting enough electrolytes. The definition of hydration is not just drinking water, but replacing the salt, the potassium, the calcium, the magnesium that you lose in your sweat. So you need to get the electrolytes in, you need to get the water in because it's high and dry up here.
That's our Nissan innovation for all, and there'll be plenty of calories required today because now we have just 2 riders of the 4 left at the front. The Garmin Sharp teammate, and doing a tremendous amount of work now is Peter Stettner, still trying to drag Tommy Danielson to the first leader's yellow jersey as they top out over Alta. And it's pretty much assured Tommy Danielson at least to be the leader in the Nissan King of the Mountains competition by the end. Still looking at the 2 riders, Paul, from United Healthcare here, who are trying to keep this race back together again. But Tommy Danielson and Peter Stettner just will not give up.
No, they won't. They've done a lot of work in this race this afternoon. They went out with a plan. They had 4 rides, and that early group of 23 men was built up a lead of 5 minutes over the main field. They wanted to make this race tough, and once you've had a tough race, it's very difficult to organize the chase behind a breakaway like this because there is absolutely nowhere to hide on a stage like this because the race profile today, Phil, although it doesn't look quite as dramatic when you look like this, when you turn around the figures and you start to understand these riders have done 10,000 feet in climbing. That's almost 3,500 meters of climbing today. You know you've been in a bike race.
Yes, they've made a real race of it too. It wasn't to be expected. The sprinters themselves had visions of winning this race when it came into Telluride. Well, they have to be very good climbers as well to be part of this one because the peloton has been reduced by almost half down there today. And one big sprinter, Francisco Kiki, is in the following bus because he's abandoned along with, we think, half a dozen other riders. These 2 riders know once they top out at Alta, they are going down to the finish in that far valley there is where we are headed, and that'll still be 8,800 above sea level. That's where Levi Leipheimer's sitting in this very select chase group now. He'll be okay because I think the day has been saved as far as long-term thinking goes. At one stage we thought Danielson and Nibali had done enough to win the race in a week's time in Denver, but not so now. They brought it back to very manageable proportions, and maybe that's why the big teams have turned themselves off at the front. They're no longer chasing now because they will feel a 30-second advantage by those 2 riders, maybe enough to give them the stage win, but for the moment that will be about it. You can see there the group working pretty hard at the front of the 2 riders from United Healthcare, chasing down the fellow Americans here. Peter Stettner and Tommy Danielson drive towards the finish, and we are now just 7 miles to go. A 30-minute ride on a gondola. The first and only free public transportation system of its kind in the United States. Electricity used to operate the gondola comes from wind power purchased from San Miguel Power Association. Approximately 2.25 million passengers ride on the gondola every year, reducing the use of vehicles and, of course, pollutants in the air. We rode on that last night. It is a fabulous way to travel between the 2 towns, believe me. As we rejoin the action now, we're on the descent towards Telluride. It's a long drop, this one, as we get into the last 5 and a bit miles of racing. We'll come off this mountain, we'll get to a T-junction, we'll turn right, and then it's a flat road finish heading up to Telluride itself. And this breakaway is far from certain to get there first. They are saying on the computer now the gap is only 15 seconds from a big group of riders here. Not the complete field today. They've left a lot behind. But in this group, we have spotted the sprinter, Tyler Farrar. And Tyler Farrar could well clean up for the Garmin team, even if they do pick up the 2 Garmin Sharp boys out front. So they're on the way down there at the moment. Well, while we watch the descent here, let's just check out on course on the back of a motorbike, indeed, our Steve Perino.
He's on his left arm there. I did not see him go down, nor did his director, Jim Akowitz. But the report from him, he talked to Davis, so they just bumped wheels a little bit. Man went down, got right back up. When he was getting fixed up by the medical car, almost had another accident when he had to veer around a Jersey. But the one thing we did learn while he was getting fixed up, obviously the reflexes are still there.
Yeah, well, in fact, Steve was talking about Taylor Finney there, who crashed early on today, and his left arm is bandaged up, as you can see. He's in the peloton as far as we know at the moment. They charge down here, Paul, something like 85 kilometers an hour, something like that, racing to the right-hand turn, and our pictures are not holding up at the moment, being quite naughty today, but they're making the right turn as we can have a look at the race on the final approach now to Telluride. It is just on the 4 miles to the finish now. This is the long peloton that they've made the right turn here, as they've now made the road turn here, making their way down towards the finishing line. Now they've got one roundabout before they race to the finish. All right, well, let's have a look then at our Road ID Challenge fan predictions, see who you thought would win today's stage. 24% of you have gone for TJ Van Garderen, so you must have expected a breakaway. There's TJ just passing through our picture. Cadell Evans 9%, Levi Leipheimer 6%, Tyler Farrar only 5%. Well, watch out, because there's Tyler Farrar and he is in the breakaway, so maybe that will change. Don't forget, give us your picks tomorrow by going over to roadid.com/ride. So, interesting little group here. Tyler Farrar, number 12 there, will be feeling he's got to turn it on for the boys if they wipe out his 2 teammates up front who have done such a great ride today to try and steal the show. This is the flat road I was telling you about now as they approach into town. When all of the officials came to the finish line this morning at around about 8:30, there was a herd of 70 elk just on the edge of the mountain here. So we really are in the deep wilderness of this wonderful state of Colorado. There's the peloton, a lot smaller than was anticipated today. And there is the catch. We are all together now, so attention will still stay with Garmin Sharp, but now with Tyler Farrar, who will have seen his 2 teammates wipe out. I can't believe the peloton have done that, Paul. That looked like a real break today.
Well, I'll tell you, 23 riders in a breakaway with a 5-minute advantage on a course like this. I thought it was a game over, and this race was going to be down to just 23 men. But there's a lot of riders, a lot of teams prepared to do the pacemaking. Now, there's a little very interesting move now coming from Radio Shack Nissan, and that was a very massive move. I doubt if it'll be Jens Voigt, because Jens was in the break for an awful long time here this afternoon, but that is a good move.
Well, I tell you, that's a great move. That breakaway was clear, by the way, for just over 100 miles today, as now looks like Styler Chris Horner possibly is making a move here. Tried to steal the show on the last minute of the racing. We're into now the last 5 kilometers of the race, just on 2.7 miles to the finish. This is the way to slip the field. It is not a tricky finish in Telluride, because really there's only one road in. If you overshoot it, you slap bang into the canyon, because this is a box canyon town. But nonetheless, it is a good road to slip away perhaps just before the finish. They've just passed that 4 kilometers to go marker now.
Well, that was Ben King, I think, got himself into that little move, trying to get away. He's got with him rider number 40 for that. Ben King is 44, and the other rider got into the break with him as well was Ben King.
So there's another move here being made by Garmin here, so they're not relying on Tyler Farrar to go either. They're trying to reach Ben King up there to make it a 3-man breakaway. They keep jumping around the 2 riders from United Healthcare, who have been doing all of the chasing and then finding that other riders are slipping the noose and getting away from them.
Well, this is a very fine move here, but look at the work that's being done, Phil, by United Healthcare. They are not giving up at all. They are the team responsible for finally bringing those 2 leaders, Danielson and Stettner, back into the main field, and they have not given up yet of trying to set something up for the sprint down towards the end.
Well, they've got Robert Foster in their team, the German sprinter. They've also got Rory Sutherland and Carl Menzies. Those guys are very fast finishers. And so it wouldn't be a foregone conclusion for Tyler Farrar, and maybe that's why they've launched another attack here. But again, it's United Healthcare who has put the pressure on to close down this breakaway of 3. And we are now inside 3 kilometers to go. So inside 2 miles to the finish.
Well, they could be thinking it's very difficult for how United Healthcare may be thinking, Phil. Carl Menzies used to be a very good sprinter in the early part of his career, but I think they'll try and set it up for Robert Forster, who was a big sprinter at the level of Tour de France races.
Now, this is the cycle path, by the way, which our camera seems to have found at the moment, that runs all the way into Telluride here. This is a bike-loving town, believe me, and lots of miles in the Colorado mountains for the mountain bikers as well. But they're inside 3 kilometers. There's the catch now, as this very select peloton suddenly comes together again. It's looking at a lot of riders now trying to get on turn, not least the Energy team. Exidy team in the white jerseys there. They've got all of the men nicely placed at the moment. They've lost one man today, but not their big sprinter, Freddie Rodriguez, who, judging by the way they're riding at the front, he must still be in this breakaway. So Alex House there has now gone back. The Garmin Sharp boys into the group. And the field now at 2 kilometers to go, and I don't think now there'll be anybody getting away from this group. It's going to be crucial, Paul, is that roundabout they're coming into before the finish.
You know, that roundabout is just about inside the final mile. It's Team Exigy now getting themselves organised. Difficult to know whether Freddie Rodriguez, there's the roundabout they're talking around, and they've roundabout there. Now all of a sudden they'll start to see themselves lining up. I'm looking for Tyler Farrar. Tyler Farrar there is about 7th position. It's a good position for him. He's got a team leading out the sprint. I don't think his own team have got that much power left after putting in a big, massive move today into that 23-man group. 4 of the riders from Garmin Sharp were in that. The rider swinging off the front there has done his turn at the front end of the main field. Now up into about 6th position. You can see in that line of riders is Tyler Farrar with the white shoes on.
Well, as they're all trying to reform here at the front, there's another rush coming up here as they're now looking for the 1 kilometer to go sign. Farrar is having to dodge around here, very wide roads as they approach the finish, and as they make the left turn now, Farrar is a long way down the finishing line here, followed by a sharp right. The peloton, the sprinters who's going to win, have got to be in the first 8 or 9 riders now, as they'll shortly be lining up for the last kilometer of the race. There's the Nissan Leaf Drive electric to the finish. We are now a kilometer to go.
Inside of 1 kilometer to go. Garmin Sharp are in control at the front end of the main field, but in about 5th or 6th position, in a very good position, I hasten to add, is still sitting the American sprinter Tyler Farrar. I don't think he's had a victory since July the 4th last year when he won a stage of the Tour de France, and this would be redemption for him.
And that was on American Independence Day, so he'll never forget that. But what a day to open up now after his team, and in particular Peter Stettner and Tommy Danielson, have set this stage alight and were caught just 3 miles from the finish today. Also, the Liquigas team has lost their sprinter today, Kiki. So they're going along a little bit headless now as the riders line up. Rory Sutherland, I think, is through on the inside. As they turn for the finish now, Farrar's really going to have to pull something special here.
Well, he's in 2nd position there. You recognise him for the white shoes. Another little corner. He just sits tucked in there, waiting for the moment to pass. It is Rory Sutherland on the front who leads out this sprint.
Well, Sutherland's looking for his teammate, but he's got no teammate behind him here. And Farrar is in the perfect position to take the win. And Tyler Farrar is going to finish the day off for Garmin Sharp with an incredible finish here. What a day this team has had, and he's won his first stage in the Tour de France July last year. Tyler Farrar won it by an awful long way.
Well, he had to do it, Phil, after all of the work. Last year's Tour de France was the last time he had that victory, Phil, but this one, I think, on home ground in the United States will be very, very sweet indeed.
That was an incredible pressure on him there. Freddie Rodriguez congratulating Tyler Farrar on the victory. Made extra special today because of the work done by his team to try and win the race, not just the stage. At one stage, Tommy Danielson so far in front in the breakaway. But Tyler Farrar knew once those boys were brought back, he had to deliver for the team, and he did.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Phil, I will take my hat off to him because this was not an easy stage for a sprinter to get through. Almost 3,500 meters, 11,000 feet of climbing. Congratulated there by Tommy Danielson. There's the American champion just a little bit further forward, Tim Duggan. Christian van der Velde over to the right-hand side and congratulating his teammate. These guys have done a great job today.
On the left there, Alex House, who tried to loosen the grip of the sprinters just before the finish. He too on Garmin Sharp. They've had a great day out, there's no doubt about that. I know Tommy Danson will be disappointed with his performance, but no doubt about the riders doing a great ride from Gongo. George Hincapie can't believe it, shaking his head there, and must wonder what is going on, because he's talking to TJ Van Garderen, who's been brought back into this race today. At one stage it looked a bit bleak out there for the boys.
Well, I thought for Levi Leipheimer and TJ Van Garderen, I thought the race had completely disappeared out of their grasp when it was 23 riders with a 5-minute advantage. It all came back together inside of the last 5 miles of this race.
Well, Tyler Farrar is going to feel like a sprinter once again now, because, as Paul said, this was a great race for him to win. He had to suffer to stay with the race when it splintered under an incredible chase back of that breakaway, and then he had to find the legs. It was a brilliant lead out by the Australian Rory Sutherland, although I don't think it was intentional, that he thought he might have had a teammate like Robert Foster on his back wheel, but instead it was Tyler Farrar.
And look at that smile, Phil, because it's been a tough year, I have to say, for this man who saw the passing away of his very good friend from Belgium, Wout Waylands, in the Giro d'Italia. He fought his way back in the Tour de France, got himself that state victory, dedicated that victory on the occasion to the Belgian who died in that Tour of Italy. And then since then, he's struggled to find the form that made him one of the top American sprinters of recent years.
He has. He started off with good form this year. In February, he finished second overall in the Tour of Qatar, but didn't win any stages there, which for a sprinter is why he was going there. And never really done a lot since. He had a very poor Tour de France. As you may recall, in the Tour de France, he was the man that limped over the finishing line in Rouen, totally covered in blood after his crash a couple of kilometres from the finish. Well, take us to the replay, Paul. This is how easy it is to win when you're on form.
When you're a great sprinter. That's Rory Sutherland in first position. And now look at the acceleration of the man on the right-hand side of Sutherland there. You know, he never looked back at all here. He gave it his full sprint. He opened up a very smart gap. He proved here that he was the fastest man in that group. And I would say if the judges have it, he looks back there just to confirm that he's got that big gap. And the judges might well even give a little time in that sprint there, because he was head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yes, that's a Mark Cavendish distance winning over the field, that is, as Tyler Farrar clearly has no opposition in the sprint finish today, and Francesco Kiki, who might have taken him on, is in the sag wagon. He retired today.
Well, that's Freddie Rodriguez just over on the left-hand side, trying to get himself into a podium position.
Yes, he'd be upset he wasn't winning, but that's still a great race for Freddie, getting second.
And Rory Sutherland, despite that lead out, managed to get himself a top 5 finish there as he got down to the end of that stage. After a good lay down of the foundations, which they thought was going to be the foundation for an overall lead in this bike race this afternoon, it didn't quite work out for them. But I tell you one thing, Phil, they still come up with a very good win.
Let's have a look then at the United Healthcare stage results. Tyler Farrar winning, given him the same time as Alessandro Bazzana of Team Type 1 Sanofi. Damiano Caruso, Liquigas Cannondale third, and despite that, the appearance from us, Freddie Rodriguez only crossing the line in 4th place. The camera must have split him. Rory Sutherland in 5th place on the line. Gavin Magnon of Bontrager, the young team there, good 6th for him. And Kiel Reinen of Team Type 1 Sanofi. Looking a little bit further down, at 9th place there was Chris Horner, sprinting very well there. And then looking to the top 15, Rafael Infantino of EPM Une. Look for him in the mountains as the race unfolds. Jess Anthony from New Zealand in 16th place. These are big names. Van Garderen safely in 17th. Leipheimer right on his wheel in 18th. And Christian van der Velde in 19th. The top 3 of last year finishing 17th, 18th and 19th. That's amazing, isn't it, Paul?
No, it certainly is. Phenomenal performance by those riders to stay near the front of the pack.
So now we're looking down at the empty finishing straight here. The crowd are moving into position for the prize presentation. A good start for Garmin Sharp at the end of the day. Now, this is what happens when you've just ridden 125.7 miles. You get back on your bike, but you don't go anywhere now. This is the warming down process of Levi Leipheimer, just to cool off from a long day in the saddle, an extremely quick day in the saddle. The riders have come in today way ahead of schedule, as you can probably guess by our live coverage here. Looking into the Box Canyon now of this beautiful town, this historical town here in Colorado. It attracts over 2 million visitors a year. Well, we'll take a break. When we come back, as always, we'll give you all the wrap-ups and all the podium finishes. And hopefully we'll catch some interviews with some of the riders. The victory today, Tyler Farrar of Garmin Sharp. See you in a moment. Welcome back, and this is today's aerial view presented by GoPro. This is a beautiful part of the world. That is the Bridal Veil Falls down there as they plunge in, cascade into the bottom. We're in the silver mine workings here. And this is the final destination of today's stage in the US Pro Challenge at Telluride, Colorado. And these are the tallest free-falling waters here in the USA. Magnificent sight, and of course many visitors flock into Telluride just to get the view, which we can show you in the comfort of your room today. So let's have a look then at today's Road ID ride of the day. And well, it was a tremendous ride by a lot of riders today, but in the end it was a perfectly judged sprint by Tyler Farrar. A great lead out by Rory Sutherland. As he moved away though, it was Tyler Farrar with a Mark Cavendish acceleration here as he came clear of the field. Coming up towards the line, he wins by lengths. And so he gets his first win since July the 4th in the Tour de France last year on Independence Day. And he certainly did it very, very easily. He got a perfect lead out there, and once you could see the finishing line, slightly uphill, not clearly apparent on the television cameras, but no doubt he's ended a perfect day for Garmin Sharp, who have been in our camera lenses the whole day today, particularly with the outstanding ride by Tommy Danielson. Well, that was our Road ID ride of the day, and don't forget to head on over to roadid.com/ride to submit your prediction of who will win tomorrow's stage. It's also a chance to win daily prizes and a 2013 Trek in the Dome. Let's have a look at the stage results from United Healthcare then. Tyler Farrar gets the stage today in a very quick time of 4 hours 42 for 127 miles on a bike. Alessandro Bassano, Team Type 1 Sanofi in second place. Damiano Caruso, Liquigas Canadale third. Freddie Rodriguez in fourth from Team Exergy. Rory Sutherland, the lead-out man, hung on to finish in fifth place for United Healthcare there. I think we can show you a little bit further down the list here. Gavin Manion of Bontrager Livestrong in sixth. Kiel Rainian of Team Type 1 Sanofi seventh. Chris Horner there in ninth. Top 10 completed by Camilo Casiblanco. So let's now go back down to the start line, because Bob Roll has now caught up with Tyler Farrar. Bob.
Tyler Farrar, congratulations on a great stage win. Was the hardest part getting through the mountains or the actual sprint to the finish line?
The hills, that Lizard's Head or whatever it was called. I really had to turn myself inside out to make it over that. So, you know, I mean, I knew today could possibly be a sprint, but I really wasn't sure if I'd have the legs to make it. So I was pretty happy to pull it off.
Is that the most mountainous stage that you've ever won in your career?
I don't know. The first Vuelta stage I ever won was also a medium mountain day, but it definitely wasn't at 10,000 feet. So it was definitely hard today.
And is this a solid result for Garmin to start out the US Pro Challenge?
I mean, obviously, you know, our home is in Colorado as a team, so we take this race really seriously. To win here is huge. And, you know, for me personally, I've had kind of a disaster of a season, so this means a whole lot to me to finally get a win.
A little vindication on today's stage.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, you know, when I looked at the profile and when I came here, I kind of went, oh, man, what am I even doing here? This is ridiculous, but I guess it was worth it.
And how about the fan support out on the race course?
Oh, it's awesome. You know, I mean, I haven't had the opportunity to race in the U.S. very much in my career, so to come here and win with so many people watching on such a cool stage, pretty insane setting, it was great.
Well, congratulations and continued good success in this week's race.
All right, thank you.
Yes, well done, Tyler. I can imagine if you're a sprinter and you don't win for more than a year, just how you feel. Well, that's all changed today. So the little setup of Telluride there, and we should indeed have at least a couple of leaders' jerseys now, Paul, for Garmin Sharp. We'll get the yellow for Tyler, and I guess we should see the King of the Mountains for Tommy D today.
Well, he was very aggressive. I have to say that was a very good plan by Garmin Sharp, and it was very, very close to actually working with 4 rides in that leading group of 23. Dave Zabriskie really worked his heart out. We read on the internet the fact that he was actually he was sick on his bike. He tried so hard. A combination of the effort and the altitude at which he produced that effort. Such was the plan that they had today to blow this race apart.
Yeah, I think the altitude has been a huge problem to the riders coming in from Europe and the Olympic Games and the Tour de France. So as they're now trying to get everything organised, remember a lot of riders are finishing a long way behind today, and there is an elimination time. So while we're waiting for those riders to come in, we'll continue our live coverage though. We're waiting for the podiums, so we'll take a quick break and see you in a moment. As we look down on Telluride, we've just seen a big bunch of cyclists cross the line, so we're very close now to starting our presentations, and the first leaders' jerseys being distributed here. Remember, this is a race over 7 days, and day one has been an absolute cracker. It really has got this race off on a high note, but there's a lot more hills awaiting these rides before we get to flatter roads and Denver next Sunday. And the race will finish there this year with an individual time trial. There's the main street here in Telluride. There's the empty podium, but the washing is ready. I can see the yellow jersey being held up on the left. And here we go. First up is the man who has won the stage here, and he's now being presented with the Exeter leader jersey, Tyler Farrar. Paul, his first win since July the 4th last year on Independence Day in the Tour de France.
But you know, when you're a sprinter, you only need one sprint to change a season, and this sprint I think will give him a lot of confidence. There's a lot more victories capable for him on the latter part of this year, but that one, I think it's been a long time coming for Tyler Farrar, and that smile I think says a lot.
It most certainly does, and it's the first time he's pulled on a leader's jersey, I'm pretty sure, since the Tirreno Adriatico in March 2011. So Tyler Farrar will wear that jersey tomorrow now, which is presented by Exeter. As we wait to see others, let's have a look at the United Healthcare overall standings. Paul, Tyler Farrar is the leader. Overall, it's exactly the same as they've crossed the finishing line today. Alessandro Bassano Caruso is third. Freddie Rodriguez is fourth. Rory Sutherland of United Healthcare, but he is Australian, is in fifth place there. I'm not sure we can show you anymore. Yes, we can. And Manny on sixth. This is exactly the way they crossed the line today. Chris Horner off to a good start. Notice they've all been given the same time, and there are no bonuses in this race, so it's a real-time race. So all of these riders very much in the hunt for Tyler Farrar's race jersey tomorrow. Camilo Casiblanco of EPM Uni. He's a Colombian rider. He's in top 10. Looking further down, BMC's Michael Shaw off to a good start there in 11th, and the top 15 completed by a good climber there from BM Uni, Rafael Infantino. Let's go back now to the finishing line. This is now the third place finisher on the stage, I think, if we're going through the top three. And this will be Damiano Caruso, who's gained the third place finish, and I think he's got his interpreter with him here. He doesn't understand any English. He's not too sure what to do next. But the Liquigas Cannondale, they were in there looking for a decisive move for Vincenzo Nibali today, because they had 3 riders in that front breakaway group, including Nibali himself. So we should now see a second place ride, another Italian here, Alessandro Bassana, coming on board for Team Type 1 Sanofi.
Well, this is him coming up to get there. Let's not forget, this is a very special team, Team Type 1, because they're trying to promote the fact that even with Type 1 diabetes, you can still compete at the top end of international sport, any kind of sport, I have to say. And that's the message that this team is trying to put around the world. And I have to say, if you went through today's stage with Type 1 diabetes, you were on a very tough day in the saddle.
Yes, and at the moment, Team Type 1 Sanofi are really in a purple patch. They are winning races all over the world at the moment, and only just beaten here today by a very convincing Tyler Farrar. I think they're going to call him back up now. He may have taken off his leader's yellow jersey. Yes, he has, as he comes back up now as the stage winner here in Telluride. Day 1 of the USA Pro Challenge in from Durango. And by the way, Durango gave the race a wonderful send-off today. It is a great town.
No, it certainly is a great town. If you're a railway buff, by the way, it's probably a fantastic place to go and spend a couple of days. And take the railway ride from Durango up to Silverton. It only takes 9 hours to get there and back, but it is a very, very pretty ride.
And a little matter of about 4 ton of coal as well. But they've still got 4 currently working steam locomotives on that line, and there'll be plenty more because the workshops are in Durango too. But now Tyler Farrar, a winner again here. I make it his 43rd win of his career, which began back in 2003. But more importantly for him, it's his first win since the Tour de France last year.
One of those very rare riders who's won stages in all of the Grand Tours. 3-stage victories in the Vuelta a España, the Tour of Spain, 2-stage victories in the Giro d'Italia or the Tour of Italy, and of course the one that he was really chasing, that victory last year on the 4th of July at the Tour de France.
So, oops, those legs almost cracked. The pressure of climbing the Lizard Head Pass coming to reality. But Tyler Farrar taking the victory here on the top podium in the main street here outside the county courthouse, or the courthouse rather, not the county courthouse, in Telluride. Saluting a huge crowd, which you can probably hear, but can't see at the moment. So as they step off, there's the photographers down in the street. Now, the one man who's just finished moments ago, he was in the breakaway today, had an incredibly hard ride. Dave Zabriskie just rearranging his jersey on the right. Little wry look on his face as he comes into the finishing line. Quite a long way down in the end, but he'll perk up when he realizes the great success. Earlier today, he literally gave his all out in that breakaway. So it just shows you to the extent a professional cyclist commits his body as they try to keep themselves in a winning position. Well, he's safe and sound, he's in, he's beaten the time limit, which today was 14% of the time of Tyler Farrar, which was 4:42. So if you're slower than 14% of 4 hours 42 minutes, you are out of the USA Pro Challenge.
I think the important thing to notice there, Phil, we always talk about, we see the individual glory on stage victories or somebody who wins the bike race overall, but it's a team who's behind you. Tommy Danielson will walk away with the jersey at the end of the day, the Nissan King of the Mountains jersey for him.
Yes, and that's a just reward for a very, very hard day of pro cycling for Tommy Danielson. He went to college in Fort Lewis in Durango, where we had the team presentation on Saturday. He told us then, and he told the people how homesick he was. He now lives in Boulder, Colorado, where the race will visit, but I think deep down he wants to move back to Durango. Well, he had a great day, and he's now the leader in the Nissan King of the Mountains. He really did look like a winner until the last 10 miles of the day, when the peloton split apart and chased him down. He was only caught 3 miles from the finish with his teammate Peter Stettner. But what a great day out for the Garmin Sharp team, whose headquarters are right here in Colorado. Last year's team winners of the Tour de France, by the way. Now let's see who comes on, for the roads are still closed down there, so I suspect riders are still finished. Let's have a look at the Nissan King of the Mountain standings. Danielson had a good day out, 23 points earned. Edouard Beltran in that breakaway got 15. Freddy Piemonte also 15. Peter Stettner in 4th place with 13, and Andy Badjadali, who won the first climb of the day, 8 points for him. He sits in 5th place there for the Optum presented by Kelly Benefit Strategies team. We're now going back to another jersey here, because this is the Waste Management sprint jersey about to be put on. This is a green jersey. This is for a man who scores out at the sprint points along the way and best placed at the finish. So not surprisingly, he's cleaned up at the finish.
Well, this is something that he will try and consolidate his lead if he can, because this is the jersey that all of the sprinters want to try and get if they can. It's a sprint for it's a jersey for the rider who's consistently placed in the top 10 to 15 places on the individual stages. It's normally designated to a rider who's not very good when it comes to the climbs, and they lose huge chunks of time on the mountaintop finishes.
So there's all smiles from Tyler Farrar. He's got 2 jerseys. What will happen is that's worn by the 2nd place rider in that classification, and there it is. So Alessandro Bassana in the Waste Management green jersey sprint competition will wear that green jersey tomorrow, because Tyler will be wearing the extra yellow jersey. Damiano Caruso is in 3rd place, Rodriguez 4th, and Rory Sutherland 5th. In the end, it reflects the exact finish on the line today, because the riders who won the points out on course at the 2 sprint towns of Durango and Dolores weren't in at the kill today. So let's have a look. It looks like Caleb Mannion of Bontrager, Gavin Mannion, beg your pardon, from Bontrager, who wins this first chance to Words. This is the Aquadrat Best Young Riders jersey. It's a good jersey too, a nice colour blue. That's going to stand out on this young man now. It's for the young riders under 23 years of age. You can smile, that's better, because that is a good jersey to have. And again, Paul, another example, these young kids on the Bontrager Livestrong team, they're good.
They're a very good team. They're led by Axel Merckx, who's the son of the great Eddie Merckx, and he's basically looking after this team as a development team, developing young riders for the future. And he leads that competition ahead of, I would have to say, a very dangerous Colombian, Eduardo Beltran, in second place. Javier Gomez, the same Colombian team, in third place, and George Bennett up there in fourth.
Well, it's interesting to know just who they've awarded now the most aggressive riders prize to, because that should be the only prize we haven't seen so far. That's given to the most active rider during the race, and I would think Tommy Danielson will be in the mix for that, but the judges will make that decision. As we're looking here, the best young riders standings, we're now waiting for the final jersey to be presented. And again, all of the riders you can see with 0 time lost today in this leading group. So we're going to see a very compact group, maybe 50 or 60 riders still in with a chance of winning this race when we get down to Denver next Sunday. There's a nice close-up shot back in his yellow jersey now, Tyler Farrar. I think he's giving an interview down there amongst the crowd. Oh, well, they've given it to Peter Stettner. So this is the Evolved Beverages most aggressive rider. A good decision, because if you recall, he tried desperately to keep Tommy Danielson in the lead all the way to the finish. Did a mammoth amount of work in the closing miles.
Well, it had to, Phil, I would say, it had to go to a rider from Garmin Sharp Barracuda, because it was their plan today. They were the aggressive team. 4 riders in that leading group of 23 at one stage. It looked as if the race was all over, done and dusted, if there had been such a vicious chase behind. But this young man, another rider on the up for the United States, he really dug deeper with his teammate Tommy Danielson to try and survive on the day.
Yes, well, he comes from a great cycling family, because Dad Dale and Uncle Wayne were terrific bike riders in their day, especially in this particular race, which was in Colorado, the Coors Classic, which this race has now come. So that's our Evolved Beverages most aggressive rider, as they now, I think we've just about completed the jerseys. I think we'll just get one big final shot of all jerseys together. Those are the hot seat jerseys now. Tomorrow, when we start on our next stage, we'll be heading onwards as we go from Montrose to Crested Butte tomorrow.
Yes, it'll be a completely different day tomorrow, I have to say, and those 0 time differences could turn into the first few seconds of separation between all the men who want to win this bike race overall. But as you can see from left to right there, Gavin Mannion from Bontrager Livestrong, Tyler Farrar in the middle, Tommy Danielson looking quite radiant and pleased with his lead in the King of the Mountains jersey there, and Peter Stettner making up the 4th rider in that group.
So those are the 4 principal leaders moving down. So there's the empty main street now. Still 1 or 2 riders to come in who are a bit behind the race today, but it was a tough day of racing. So we're going to take another break, I think, in a minute, and we'll see what else we can give you, as this race, as you realise if you're just tuning in, is finished in very fast time today. The winner is Tyler Farrar, but don't go away, because we have something special for you when we come back after the break. Congratulations all round. Great day out so far in the race here for Team Garmin Sharp. Well, welcome back as the crowd now begin to dwindle here in Telluride. We've got one particular interview we wouldn't leave without giving you. And Bob Roll is down there, and he's now able to talk to the man of the day, in my opinion. Let's have a word now with Tommy Danielson.
Tom Danielson, great stage today for Garmin, obviously, with the stage win. Was it a plan for the team to put big pressure on the peloton and get the win?
Yeah, that was the plan, and obviously starting Durango, I was pretty pumped up. Didn't feel anything, and I knew it would be a hard race. I'd raced the Squawker Classic going up the front hill, I knew that was going to blow the race apart, so I went hard up that, and then just kept jumping across every breakaway I could just to put pressure on it. And I knew Hesperus from the Tuesday Night Worlds trying to keep up with Mike Wilk and Ivan and the local guys, Ned Over and Todd Wells. So I knew that pretty well, and we blew up the peloton there for a while, and I'm pretty sure they had to chase really hard. We had a good group, and then in the end, the gap was coming down, and I thought, you know, let's give everybody something to get excited about. So I just took off and rode hard. It's a pretty good group, you know. Obviously, Nibali was chasing behind with Pete, and then we had the 4 of us with the Colombian guy, and then they got dropped, and then it was me and Pete. So that was pretty cool. And I thought for sure we were going to win the race, but we're just too light, and that descent was too long, or something. I don't know. Everybody went fast from behind. Damn it. What are you going to do? I guess you can try again tomorrow, but.
Well, were you surprised at the size of the group coming into Telluride for the finish?
That was small, wasn't it? I don't know. Or do you think it's big? What are you saying? You think it was a big group or a small group?
Tyler Farah was able to hang in there, and generally as a sprinter, it usually takes a bit of a larger group to arrive at the finish line.
Yeah, but I don't think any of the other sprinters were there. I was looking at the results, and it looked like a bunch of other guys. So I don't know. It looked like a lot of guys got dropped, but Tyler did a phenomenal ride. Good to see him climb like that. I think he got the form from turning himself inside out in the Tour de France every day, and then of course, and then at the Tour of Utah. So he did a great ride. It was awesome to see him win, and it was awesome to give all the fans at home, you know, something to watch. And I'd have to say that was probably the most exciting bike race of the year. I don't know. You guys tell me, was that exciting or not?
Tomorrow's stage up into Crested Butte turned out to be a GC day last year. Are you expecting attacks on the last climb up to Mount Crested Butte?
Of course. Of course people are going to attack. It's going to be nastier than last year, because last year's first stage was a downhill prologue. And this year's first stage, I'm pretty sure everybody's pretty messed up from. So I think big fireworks tomorrow, and the day after that is Independence Pass, and the day after that's Beaver Creek, and the day after that's a hard stage in the Colorado Springs, and then Flagstaff, and then a time trial. So nowhere to hide, nowhere to rest. This race is tough, and we're going to keep putting pressure on and hopefully win. That'd be cool.
All right, Tommy D, best of luck.
Thanks, Bob. It's a pleasure being here.
Well, I don't know about you, but it's making me tired just listening to the route there being given by Tommy Danielson. I've never known him so confident in his own ability, and he's going to attack again. Didn't work today, but with stage racing, you never know. It might work tomorrow on the road to a great Crested Butte. All right, well, before we leave you, we're going to roll time back a little bit, because many of you may have tuned in a little bit late today with the high speed of the race. So we're going to show you a little bit of the action. We're going to go back 11 miles down the road and show you it all the way to the finish again. So Peter Stettner has picked up his teammate, Tommy D, Tommy Danielson. Vincenzo Nibali has got back Eduardo Beltran. These are the elite 4 survivors of this 23-man breakaway. We can show you how that catch came about. There it is, a little bit earlier in our coverage, as they just picked up Tommy D, checked out who they were, reckoned he liked what he saw, got out of the saddle and got back in with the group. 4 riders now. Now the gap was continuing to fall, even so it is now only half a minute, and you know the way this peloton has worked to bring this back has been exceptional, because they've shed so many riders from the big bunch. Well, as you gaze down from the helicopter here, Paul, you can see the movement in this peloton now. They're sensing the kill. They're only 30 seconds back.
Yeah, but it's interesting that BMC have actually turned off. I think they realise there's another slight climb to go, this little climb up to Alta, and then they feel that it'll be on the descent of the next climb of the day that if they have to pull it all back together, that's when we'll see the American-Swiss team once again come back to the front. They looked extremely organised. We now know it's not for Cadel Evans here in the month of August. It's for their youngster, the 23-year-old American rider, TJ Van Garderen.
Well, that's what we feel, and that's more or less what has been indicated. Cadel Evans at the press conference did say, I've had a horrible season, but I feel as though my form is coming back. But we saw him struggling on the climb of the Lizard Head Pass just moments ago. And this peloton, you know, has been reduced to a very select bunch of riders. There's an awful lot of riders have been dropped on an opening stage that wasn't expected to be this way. But these boys came out fighting.
Well, they did. A couple of the sprinters thought they would have a nice, easy day over the first day of this race in the heart of Colorado, but that has not been.
Well, let's have a look at the USA Cycling American standings, and on day one we'll give you the result of last year's USA Pro Challenge. It was a win for Levi Leipheimer, 11 seconds from Christian van der Velde, 17 on TJ van Garderen, 21 on Tommy Danielson, who's in the break today, and 53 seconds on George Hincapie, who has chosen this race this year to retire from the sport of cycling after 17 attempts at the Tour de France, which is a record. We're looking into the Box Canyon here, which is Telluride, where the race finishes. As the riders race towards here now, they are just on 9 miles from the finish. There are 4 leaders, and we just can't get back to the pictures for you at the moment as the riders are coming down. They're just on the climb of Alta, which is the final climb of the day before they descend down to the bottom. So as we look here at one of the highest waterfalls in the USA, let's now, for information on nutrition and hydration while racing at altitude, let's check in with Nissan Innovation for All.
My name is Dr. Alan Lim. I'm the founder of Scratch Labs. We're an active nourishment company. Our whole thing is to make great food for athletes that isn't over-engineered, that actually meets the needs of performing athletes. You know, at events here like the USA Pro Challenge, eating is literally part of the job. These guys have to get in anywhere from 6,000 to 7,500 calories a day. That's anywhere from 3,500 to 5,000 calories on the bicycle. Add another 2,000 to 2,500 calories on top of that. If these guys aren't eating, they're not performing because they're burning through so much energy. They're using so much fuel during the day. One upset stomach, one bad tummy, the race is done. I think the biggest mistake that athletes make is not hydrating enough. So not getting enough water and not getting enough electrolytes. The definition of hydration is not just drinking water, but replacing the salt, the potassium, the calcium, the magnesium that you lose in your sweat. So you need to get the electrolytes in, you need to get the water in because it's high and dry up here.
That's our Nissan Innovation for All, and there'll be plenty of calories required today because now we have just 2 riders of the 4 left at the front. The Garmin Sharp teammates, and doing a tremendous amount of work now is Peter Stettner, still trying to drag Tommy Danielson to the first leader's yellow jersey as they top out over Alta. And it's pretty much assured Tommy Danielson at least to be the leader in the Nissan King of the Mountains competition by the end. Still looking at the 2 riders, Paul, from United Healthcare here, who are trying to keep this race back together again. But Tommy Danielson and Peter Stettner just will not give up.
No, they won't. They've done a lot of work in this race this afternoon. They went out with a plan. They had 4 rides, and that early group of 23 men was built up a lead of 5 minutes over the main field. They wanted to make this race tough, and once you've had a tough race, it's very difficult to organize the chase behind a breakaway like this because there is absolutely nowhere to hide on a stage like this because the race profile today, Phil, although it doesn't look quite as dramatic when you look like this, when you turn around the figures and you start to understand these riders have done 10,000 feet in climbing. That's almost 3,500 meters of climbing today. You know you've been in a bike race.
Yes, they've made a real race of it too. It wasn't to be expected. The sprinters themselves had visions of winning this race when it came into Telluride. Well, they have to be very good climbers as well to be part of this one because the peloton has been reduced by almost half down there today. And one big sprinter, Francisco Kiki, is in the following bus because he's abandoned along with, we think, half a dozen other riders. These 2 riders know once they top out at Alta, they are going down to the finish in that far valley. There is where we are headed, and that'll still be 8,800 above sea level. That's where Levi Leipheimer is sitting in this very select chase group now. He'll be okay because I think the day has been saved as far as long-term thinking goes. At one stage, we thought Danielson and Nibali had done enough to win the race in a week's time in Denver, but not so now. They brought it back to very manageable proportions, and maybe that's why the big teams have turned themselves off at the front. They're no longer chasing now because they will feel a 30-second advantage by those 2 riders. Maybe enough to give them the stage win, but for the moment that will be about it. You can see there the group working pretty hard at the front of the 2 riders from United Healthcare, chasing down fellow Americans here. Peter Stettner and Tommy Danielson drive towards the finish, and we are now just 7 miles to go. Well, welcome back. These are live pictures here. The rain has started to come down by the bucket load here at 8,800 feet. The race is in, of course. We've seen them arrive, and now they're de-rigging the area here as the riders race tomorrow from Montrose to Great Crested Butte. We have seen an incredibly good opening day of racing of 125.7 miles on the Colorado presented stage here, bringing us through from Durango to Telluride. And I must say, Paul, Tommy Danielson was exceptional today, and so too was the day's winner.
Yeah, well, I think Team Garmin Sharp were a very good team as well. They went out with a plan today not to have an easy first stage of this bike race here in Colorado, but to go out hard and race it. It made it very, very difficult. At one stage, it looked as if the race was all over when a 23-man breakaway got clear off the front end of the peloton. But there was a big chase came in the peloton when it all came back together. Well finished off by the American Tyler Farrar.
All right, well, let's find out more about one of our race partners, based in Fort Collins, of course, in Colorado. Here's some more now on New Belgian Brewing Company.
I'm Kim Jordan. I'm the CEO and co-founder of New Belgium Brewing Company. My then husband, Jeff Liebisch, and I started New Belgium in the basement of our house in the summer of 1991. We've been in Fort Collins for 21 years, and we are the third largest craft brewer in the United States. New Belgium's most well-known beer, Fat Tire, was created after a mountain bike trip in Europe, and Jeff was trying to emulate a beer that he'd had there while he was still a home brewer. So that was kind of our flagship start. You know, that evolved into thinking about this bike thing really means something to us. And we have an opportunity to affect change in our community and in other communities where we sell beer. New Belgium and Fat Tire and bikes and Colorado and USA Pro Challenge and their thoughts about a great partnership for all of us. It was immediately obvious that it was a terrific fit.
Yes, indeed. Beer and bikes, they go together, don't they? And Fat Tire, by the way, is what the enthusiasts refer to as mountain bike cycling. Well, as you can see, the rain has come here now, so it's probably just as well that the riders did go flat out today and have a great stage and finish pretty much 40 minutes ahead of schedule. So we've been showing you again, in case you're joining us late, the end of the race, so we can now go back to the action as the riders go into the last mile of the stage. And the field now at 2 kilometers to go, and I don't think now there'll be anybody getting away from this group. It's going to be crucial, Paul, is that roundabout they're coming into before the finish.
You know, that roundabout is just about inside the final mile. It's Team Exergy now getting themselves organised. Difficult to know whether Freddie Rodriguez, there's the roundabout they're talking around, and they've roundabout there. Now all of a sudden they'll start to see themselves lining up. I'm looking for Tyler Farrar. Tyler Farrar there is about 7th position. It's a good position for him. He's got a team leading out the sprint. I don't think his own team have got that much power left after putting in a big, massive move today into that 23-man group. 4 of the riders from Garmin Sharp were in that. The rider swinging off the front there has done his turn at the front end of the main field. Now up into about 6th position. You can see in that line of riders is Tyler Farrar with the white shoes on.
Well, as they're all trying to reform here at the front, there's another rush coming up here as they're now looking for the 1 kilometer to go sign. Farrar is having to dodge around here, very wide roads as they approach the finish, and as they make the left turn now, Farrar is a long way down the finishing line here, followed by a sharp right. The peloton, the sprinters who's going to win, have got to be in the first 8 or 9 riders now, as they'll shortly be lining up for the last kilometer of the race. There's the Nissan Leaf Drive Electric to the finish. We are now a kilometer to go.
Inside of 1 kilometer to go. Garmin Sharp are in control at the front end of the main field, but in about 5th or 6th position, in a very good position, I hasten to add, is still sitting the American sprinter Tyler Farrar. I don't think he's had a victory since July the 4th last year when he won a stage of the Tour de France, and this would be redemption for him.
And that was on American Independence Day, so he'll never forget that. But what a day to open up now after his team, and in particular Peter Stettner and Tommy Danielson, have set this stage alight and were caught just 3 miles from the finish today. Also, the Liquigas team has lost their sprinter today, Kiki. So they're going along a little bit headless now as the riders line up. Rory Sutherland, I think, is through on the inside. As they turn for the finish now, Farrar's really going to have to pull something special here.
Well, he's in 2nd position there. You recognise him for the white shoes. Another little corner. He just sits tucked in there, waiting for the moment to pass. It is Rory Sutherland on the front who leads out this sprint.
Well, there's a look of Sutherland's looking for his teammate, but he's got no teammate behind him here. And is in the perfect position to take the win. And Tyler Farrar is going to finish the day off for Garmin Sharp with an incredible finish here. What a day this team has had, and he's won his first stage in the Tour de France July last year. Tyler Farrar won it by an awful long way.
Well, he had to do it, Phil, after all of the work. Last year's Tour de France was the last time he had that victory, Phil. But this one, I think, on home ground in the United States will be very, very sweet indeed.
That was an incredible pressure on him there. Freddie Rodriguez congratulating Tyler Farrar on the victory. Made extra special today because of the work done by his team to try and win the race, not just the stage. At one stage, Tommy Danielson so far in front in a breakaway. But Tyler Farrar knew once those boys were brought back, he had to deliver for the team, and he did.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Phil. I will take my hat off to him because this was not an easy stage for a sprinter to get through. Almost 3,500 meters, 11,000 feet of climbing. Congratulated there by Tommy Danielson. There's the American champion just a little bit further forward, Tim Duggan. Christian van der Velde over to the right-hand side, congratulating his teammate. These guys have done a great job today.
On the left there, Alex House, who tried to loosen the grip of the sprinters just before the finish. Heat 2 on Garmin Sharp. They've had a great day out, there's no doubt about that. I know Tommy Danielson will be disappointed with his performance, but no doubt about the riders doing a great ride from Garmin. George Hincapie can't believe it, shaking his head there, and must wonder what is going on, because he's talking to TJ Van Garderen, who's been brought back into this race today. At one stage, it looked a bit bleak out there for the boys.
Well, I thought for Levi Leipheimer and TJ Van Garderen, I thought the race had completely disappeared out of their grasp when it was 23 riders with a 5-minute advantage. It all came back together inside of the last 5 miles of this race.
Well, Tyler Farrar is going to feel like a sprinter once again now, because, as Paul said, this was a great race for him to win. He had to suffer to stay with the race when it splintered under an incredible chase back of that breakaway, and then he had to find the legs. It was a brilliant lead out by the Australian Rory Sutherland, although I don't think it was intentional, that he thought he might have had a teammate like Robert Foster on his back wheel, but instead it was Tyler Farrar.
And look at that smile, Phil, because it's been a tough year, I have to say, for this man who saw the passing away of his very good friend from Belgium, Walter Waylands, in the Giro d'Italia. He fought his way back in the Tour de France, got himself that state victory, dedicated that victory on the occasion to the Belgian who died in that Tour of Italy. And then since then, he's struggled to find the form that made him one of the top American sprinters of recent years.
He has. He started off with good form this year. In February, he finished second overall in the Tour of Qatar, but didn't win any stages there, which for a sprinter is why he was going there. And never really done a lot since. He had a very poor Tour de France. As you may recall, in the Tour de France, he was the man that limped over the finishing line in Rouen, totally covered in blood after his crash a couple of kilometres from the finish. Well, take us to the replay, Paul. This is how easy it is to win when you're on form.
When you're a great sprinter. That's Rory Sutherland in first position. And now look at the acceleration of the man on the right-hand side of Sutherland there. You know, he never looked back at all here. He gave it his full sprint. He opened up a very smart gap. He proved here that he was the fastest man in that group. And I would say if the judges have it, he looks back there just to confirm that he's got that big gap. And the judges might well even give a little time in that sprint there, because he was head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yes, that's a Mark Cavendish distance winning over the field, that is, as Tyler Farrar clearly has no opposition in the sprint finish today, and Francesco Kiki, who might have taken him on, is in the sag wagon. He retired today.
And that's Freddie Rodriguez just over on the left-hand side, trying to get himself into a podium position.
Yes, he'd be upset he wasn't winning, but that's still a great race for Freddie, getting second.
And Rory Sutherland, despite that lead-out, managed to get himself a top-5 finish there as he got down to the end of that stage. After a good lay-down of the foundations, which they thought was going to be the foundation for an overall lead in this bike race this afternoon, it didn't quite work out for them, but I'll tell you one thing, Phil, they still come up with a very good win.
Let's have a look then at the United Healthcare stage results. Tyler Farrar winning, given in the same time as Alessandro Bazzana of Team Type 1 Sanofi. Damiano Caruso, Liquigas Cannondale third, and despite that, the appearance from us, Freddie Rodriguez only crossing the line in 4th place. The camera must have split him. Rory Sutherland in 5th place on the line. Gavin Magnon of Bontrager, the young team there, good 6th for him. And Kiel Reinen of Team Type 1 Sanofi. Looking a little bit further down, at 9th place there was Chris Horner, sprinting very well there. And then looking to the top 15, Rafael Infantino of EPM Une. Look for him in the mountains as the race unfolds. folks. Jess Anthony from New Zealand in 16th place. These are big names. Van Garderen safely in 17th. Leipheimer right on his wheel in 18th. And Christian van der Velde in 19th. The top three of last year finishing 17th, 18th and 19th. That's amazing, isn't it, Paul?
No, it certainly is. Phenomenal performance by those riders to stay near the front of the pack.
So welcome back. So Tyler Farrar is the first leader now of the USA Pro Challenge, and tomorrow, well, let's hope it's not raining like it is right now here in Telluride. Let's have a look now at the race. This is our information tomorrow. We'll come to you 11 p.m. Eastern Time tonight with a reshow today, and stage 2 tomorrow, Montrose to Crested Butte at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Make note of that. It's stage 2, and we can show you a little bit about the Evolved Beverages route here, as we take them now on not quite such a hilly stage tomorrow, Paul.
No, but I think when you look at the stage away from Montrose, starting at 5,800 feet, it climbs almost immediately to the first climb of the day, to Cerro Summit at 7,900 feet, then Blue Mesa Summit, and then a long ride across the plateau at around about 8,000 feet. But this race, once they've gone through Gunnison, is all about the final climb of the day up to Mount Crested Butte. It's a pretty finish and a tough one.
Yes, and if you remember the finish there last year at Crested Butte, it was a great battle of the men who really did affect the race result. So don't forget to tune in tomorrow tonight for a full schedule and for our race highlights. So log on to NBCSports.com, and don't forget, for all race information, log on to ProChallenge.com. All of our great clothing here is provided by Pearl Azumi. Well done to Tyler Farrar. The sprinter is back in the big time now, and he's in the yellow jersey tomorrow. It'll be a good race to Great Crested Butte. But for the moment, from everybody here in Telluride, we've got our hat and coats on in the rain. Tomorrow, I hope we're in the dry. We'll see you then. Goodbye.